My life in another country part 2. So the first video about me talking about my life and didn't really explain too much about how it actually works. Just explained pretty much that I arrived there, around that. So let me go into at least a little bit into how it was at first. So with me not knowing practically any Portuguese, I didn't know much. Well, obviously I could pretty much say like a basic greeting, like good afternoon, hello, how are you? Pretty much that's about it. I couldn't have an actual conversation. Like if I wanted to get something at the supermarket, I would have to either just go to, get the items, not say anything while I'm paying and leaving, etc. If I want to get something at a bakery, I would have to point at the item that I wanted, and then move on from there. A few places that I went to frequently knew about this, and they were totally down and okay with it. Wasn't an issue for them. So I ended up becoming like a local and a regular at some places. They actually, but the fact that there was someone different hanging out, coming over and buying things. I did get a lot of looks, and I mean a lot of looks. There was at one point when my wife and I were walking around, this was before we got married, we were walking around, and there was a guy who was from a church just hanging out in this one area doing something for the church, and when he realized that I was speaking a completely different language, his facial expression went to complete joy, going, "Oh my gosh, this is this is a gringo." Gringo meaning white man, white person, or whatever. And he got super excited because there are very, very, very few people that happen to be Caucasian within the country of Brazil. Very few. So he wanted me to basically record a video to the church explaining, what I like about Brazil. And I do remember the biggest thing that I said about Brazil that absolutely was the food. Oh my gosh, the food was fantastic. Best food ever. Way better than anything I really had. But overall, my overall experience there wasn't bad. I had never had any issues. A lot of people think that Brazilian is an unlawful country. I never ran into any problems. I never saw anything. Um, I never felt like I was ever in danger. I never had anything stolen from me while I was out and about. I mean, I really don't have anything. Um, but the one thing that I do know, I do remember, is there in that first city that we lived in Brazil. I can even show you on map. Attempt to find one. If I there we go. Okay, so let me go down. São Paulo. Paulo. There it is. Okay. Remember correctly. Okay. Actually, yep, right here. Within this area. I want to say we lived off of the street right here. Really? I want to say this house right. No. This house right here was our house. This one. I remember the outdoor area and house. Yep, this one was ours. This is the house that we were living. There was a small store that opened up right here that we frequented a lot. This place is a store right here that we went to a few times here and there. Was a supermarket. Correctly, walk down this way. Right here. My wife and I would go to the supermarket and another supermarket that was right here quite a few times. She took the bus to go into from work. And there was also a little bakery. If I remember correctly, it was this building right here that we visited a lot. They knew me. Every single time we walked in, they're like, oh, there he is. So this was the first house that I lived in. And as you can see, the houses here are very, very close together. This is just their normal. They really don't have space like we do here. And it was also very loud. Like picture like that one guy that you know that drives down the road that just wants to blast music extremely loudly and is just like, no, like why do you do that? No one wants to hear that. That's basically what it was like there, just in houses everywhere. So I lived in this city for about a year, maybe a little bit less than a year. My wife, my sister-in-law, and her boyfriend. Then there was an accident that happened, and we ended up coming down all the way down here. Bill. Down that. I don't think I'll be able to find. I can't remember. I want to say it was. It took us a hot minute there too. We lived in an apartment building. I remember that much. I basically, my wife and I stayed there for the remainder of the time that I was there until I had to. My overall experience at the day was while in San Carlos. Let's focus here for now. Is for the first 2 months, I didn't have a job. All the money that I had in my account was money that I tried to save up and money that I basically sold because I sold my car that I had at the time, and I took that with me. So, and that was the money that I had when I saved up plus the amount of money that I sold for the car. All I had. And when things came up, I would go and I would order. Well, I would order. I would give my wife money when time came for bills. I would transfer money from my account, and there was an app that we used to transfer funds automatically. Fantastic. And I remember that money was getting low. It was getting low fast. And I remember thinking, what am I going? So I only bought a one-way plane ticket here, and already February, and the amount of money that's in my account is. What am I going to do? So my wife and I started looking for some kind of work that would let me work from home and be able to send money. And thank you, Heavenly Father, for blessing me with a job. But I got a job, perfect moment in time, where I ran out of money. Got a job, perfect moment. And that job led me to. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. That job that I had was horrible. It was so bad. It was a part-time job, but I did it because I wanted to support my wife. I loved my wife. I wanted to be with her. I wanted to take care of her. That's all I wanted to do. So I worked this job that was just outright horrible. But let me work from home. Let me use my own personal computer and let me work from home, so it's good. But My wife helped me find a second job that ended up being way better, paid more, the job was way easier, way more relaxed, and it was awesome. And that job came at another perfect moment as well. So, from the grace of God, I literally got a job at the time that I needed, and I got a better job at another perfect time that I needed. There was a situation that made us move to that town that was close to Joinville in Brazil, and that job actually helped pay for a lot of things. It got us caught up with all the debt that we had. We were able to even buy property down there, which now we are unable to keep due to the fact that we're not in the US, and we also just can't afford it. But we have 2 plots of land currently in Brazil that if we really wanted to, we could build something on them. 2 completely different parts of Brazil. But fortunately, we were unable to keep those, so we're in the process of, or at least we're going to try to get rid of both and at least try to get something back for. But when I got the second job, we were still in San Carlos, and that job was in the health industry for insurance. And basically, all I did was I just verified members' information, benefit information for mental health, which I'm a huge advocate for and think that everyone does. It is very, very important that you are maintaining sanity, especially with how crazy things are nowadays. But yeah, I mean, my overall experience in Brazil was very positive. I never had any issues. Now, with that being said, I can still sit here and talk about the differences between the US and Brazil. A lot of people in the US think that Brazil is a third world country. A lot of people that even I know think that Brazil and are basically like, and like the entire country is the Amazon rainforest. The Amazon rainforest only covers a small part of Brazil, in the very northern part of Brazil. And as you can see just from that top view of San Carlos, there's a lot of buildings. And the way that their houses are is they're very close to each other. You do get privacy, so you don't need to worry about that, but you do also have to worry about security. So a lot of houses in that area had walls, metal gates, barbed wire, even electric wiring surrounding the top of their wall of their property. In the area that we moved to, that was not the case, actually. A lot less of that. And honestly, when we moved down to that area, I actually felt better being down there, despite the fact that when we moved to the apartment, there was a lot less around us. A lot less around us. Um, but the biggest differences that I ran into was not the heat. The heat was practically something I was already used to because I lived in Florida for already a while, and I lived in C for a time. So, despite the fact that my body doesn't process heat very well, I was blessed and was able to live actually pretty comfortably down in Brazil while I was down there. But the things that I do miss the most is, but my wife and I have been able to actually find things here that makes it seem like that we actually never really left Brazil. Fantastic. So the big differences between living here and living there. The cost of living down there is way higher. Way, way higher there than it is here. For example, the car that I currently own, it is a 2016 Fiat 500. And this car is absolutely amazing. I love it. Excuse me. And I wouldn't change it for the world. However, In Brazil, that car is unbelievably expensive. So expensive, in fact, that economic cars actually cost more there than other cars do there, unlike here. Like here, trucks, fancy sports cars, stuff like that, they're the most expensive. Yes, in the aspect of that is the same there too. However, economic cars are unbelievably expensive. And I mean unbelievably expensive. And the interest rate there, oh my goodness, let me tell you. So the car that I currently own, last time that my wife and I looked, it would cost anywhere between 50 to 80 and at most 90,000 real. But with the interest rate, you would end up paying that anywhere between 2 to 4 times over by the time you were done paying for it. Also, a big difference between the US and Brazil is if you were to move to a new apartment or a new house, like here in the US, if you move to an apartment or house, most of the utilities are already microwave, stove, fridge, washing machines, etc. Most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. Brazil, that's not the case. None of those things are there. Whenever you buy a house or rent a place, they're gone. For example, when we were living in the apartment, the people above us moved out. They took a sink from the apartment building, and we ended up leaking through the floor into our apartment, and the owner of the building had to go and actually put one of those blocks on it so then the water would stop dripping out. So things there are a lot different. But in terms of like living in a house, it's their own. It's the same, just different materials. Um, Air conditioning isn't very common there. The apartment that we moved to did have air conditioning, and we did abuse it. Um, and I forgot how awesome air conditioning was. I didn't realize how much I missed it till I had it again. Um, but yeah, I mean, to those who hop in and listen to me talk about my life in Brazil, please feel free to ask questions. I'm more than happy to answer any of them about how things in Brazil, the cost of things, the way that the job market there worked. Like I can ask away and I'll answer it. I did enjoy my time in Brazil. Would I go back there and live there on a more permanent basis? It really depends. There is a big depending on. As of right now, despite the fact that America is not awesome as it was, cost of living here is high. Not as high as it is there. Um, right now, honestly, no. And there's a few reasons. One, can't afford it. So in my current job, I do get to work from home. However, I don't have the ability to work there and support my wife while doing this job. Like the only way I can do that is if we're both here. We are. I did get my residency for Brazil, so I will be going back next year, so that I don't lose it. I pretty much have to go there once every 2 years, or I will lose my residency, and I definitely don't want to do that. But would I live there in the future? Maybe. It just depends on how things go for my wife and I financially. If we are able to successfully build something here in the US and build something here in Brazil, then we'll just go back and forth. Other than both. Because why wouldn't you? If you have the ability to, everyone would. For me, I do have the ability to basically live in Brazil because I already have my residency and I could go there and make a life. However, because if I don't speak any kind of Portuguese, it is impossible for me to get a job there. For one. Two, the pay there on average is not that good. The minimum wage there is slightly higher than our average minimum wage of $7. However, the cost of living there is way higher for food, rent, everything. A lot higher on average. There are some places in Brazil where it's way less, but the income you'd be receiving is also would be less. And they don't do hourly; they do salary. So every single job there is a salary-based job. But yeah, um, I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. If y'all have any questions about, things that I've seen, things that I've done, feel free to ask. I would be happy to talk about it. Just going over my overall experience there. I was there for almost 2 years. I do plan on going back. Um, I my goals are to eventually own a house down there. Currently it's not really a viable thing, and my wife and I can't afford it. And so we will unfortunately be giving up one. But we'll be working on giving up the other one, so some kind of money back. We just You just don't have the means to pay for the land, get something built, if like that at the current moment. And it just so happens that that land was the apartment that we live in. Honestly, between all of you and myself, I honestly do wish that we fortunately just on the table for us right now. Anyway, I want to thank you all so much for watching this video and listening. One of these days I'll get my wife to join in and participate on something. She'll even talk about things about the US and her experience so far.